In the heart of Lagos, a wealthy family lived in opulence and comfort. Their daughter, TAMARA, was the apple of their eye. They wanted nothing but the best for her and spared no expense to ensure her happiness and well-being. But unbeknownst to them, TAMARA was facing a terrible struggle at her private school. Her teacher, Mr. Adebayo, was molesting her on a regular basis. She would come home exhausted and drained, but her mother was too busy with her social engagements to notice. TAMARA was left to deal with her trauma alone. She wanted to confide in her mother, but the fear of not being believed and the shame of what was happening kept her silent. Every day was a living nightmare, until one day, she was taken to the hospital with heavy bleeding. When her mother, Mrs. Williams, arrived at the hospital, TAMARA was barely conscious. Through tears and sobs, TAMARA told her mother about Mr. Adebayo's heinous acts. But it was too late, the damage had been done. Mrs. Williams cradled her dying daughter in her arms, watching helplessly as life drained out of her. She was gripped with intense guilt and anguish, knowing that if she had only paid attention, if she had only listened to her daughter, TAMARA could have been saved. But instead, she had focused on appearances, on social status, and on her own needs. In the aftermath of TAMARA's death, Mrs. Williams was left to live with the pain and guilt of her inaction. Her life, once filled with parties and social engagements, was now shrouded in sorrow. She attended the trial, a hollow shell of her former self. As the guilty verdict was read, Mrs. Williams could not help but wonder if justice had truly been served. As time passed, Mrs. Williams realized that her true legacy was not in her wealth or social standing, but in the life of her daughter. She channeled her grief into a campaign for awareness and education about sexual abuse and trauma. Moral of the story: not everything entails money or luxuries. Try to give a listening ear to your children, younger ones, friends, and family. Adequate attention is key.